Hello, everyone, and welcome to our conversation today on mini apps. If you haven't heard about mini apps before, we announced those at the New World event, and they're part of World App 3.0. And arguably one of the most exciting and explosive parts of World App 3.0. There was a lot of great upgrades in that release, but the ability to develop a mini app has been one of the most exciting and one of the most explosive in terms of growth that we've ever seen, actually. And we're going to learn a lot more about the mini app kind of architecture, if you will, and then also hear from some of the developers that have deployed mini apps on World App and get their perspective directly. If you didn't see the announcement we made last week, the numbers are really impressive, and we'll get into more of those in a moment as well. But today we're going to spend some time with the team at TFH who's responsible for mini apps themselves, as I mentioned. Before we go any further, I'd like to start like we always do. We've got an amazing group of people assembled today to chat about this, and I'd like to do a round of intros. I'll kick it off. My name's Stephen Smith. I work for Tools for Humanity, or TFH. We're a key contributor to the World Protocol, the World Network. At TFH, I run the protocol teams and applied research teams, which gives me the opportunity to work across a lot of different areas. And with that, I'll pass it on to Andy. Are you on the space?
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, sound good.
Awesome. Hello, I am Andy. I am leading development right now for mini apps, also at TFH.
All right, very good. And Leighton, are you on the space?
I am. Yep. My name's Leighton Cusack, and I'm also at TFH, and I'm working on the ecosystem around mini apps.
All right, very good. Andy and Leighton are very humble, by the way. They do some amazing work and some amazing things. So super fortunate to have them with us today. And then as I mentioned, we also have some developers of mini apps themselves. So John, are you on the space with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
All right, very good. And we'll get into your mini app in a bit more detail as we go. But what is the name of the things that you worked on, the mini apps?
Yeah, so hello, my name is John. I work on a company called PartyDAO. We've built a bunch of different crypto apps over the years, but recently we've spent a lot of our time building some mini apps on Worldchain, and the main one is called Oro. It's an app that has a token. I won't get into all the details, but yeah, we're working on Oro, and we also have another mini app called Uno that's like a embedded token wallet as a mini app inside of the World app as well.
Okay, very good. Thanks for joining us today, John. And then Youssef, are you on the space?
Hey everybody, you guys hear me?
Yes, you sound good.
Hey everybody, my name is Youssef. I'm the founder of Meritt. Meritt is one of the new social apps on World. I've previously worked for 2 years in the crypto space in DeFi protocol and in layer ones. And super excited to be building on World.
All right, very good. Thanks, Youssef. Appreciate you joining us. And Loomdart, do we have you on the call?
Hello, am I coming through loud and clear?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Wonderful. So I'm Loomdart, CEO of Loomlock, and I guess by Wassie. So we're a physical hardware startup, but unfortunately physical hardware takes a while. So in the meanwhile, we decided, hey, let's figure out a bunch of social stuff that we can eventually apply to that company by just exploring the NFT space and doing some fun social things. And today I'll be talking about the Wassie Whomp app.
All right, very good. We appreciate you being with us as well, and excited to hear more about these apps and from the team at TFH that built the infrastructure and is running the ecosystem around those. Before we get started, a bit of housekeeping. We do this on all our spaces. If you have any questions as we go through the space, you can put those in the Twitter thread, and we'll do our best to get as many of those answered at the end as we can. We usually have plenty of time, so anything and everything you want to know about the mini app framework, if you will, or about any of the mini apps we're going to be talking about today, just put those questions in the Twitter thread and we'll get to them. Okay, so kick it off. We always like to level set to make sure that everyone kind of understands what the space is about. So let's start off with what are mini apps? Andy, so why don't you kick us off? You've been instrumental in the development of mini apps and just tell us all about them.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that intro. So mini apps at the simplest level are basically websites that we load as web views inside of the World app. But where the magic kind of happens is that we have this SDK called MiniKit, and that essentially acts as a communication layer between the web view and World app, allowing your mini app to essentially get access to a lot of really cool features. And so inside of World app, you have the ability to use Web3 primitives. So that includes sending transactions, which are completely sponsored. Users don't pay any gas. On top of that, you can sign messages and also do sign type messages, which are pretty basic, but required primitives for building any type of dApp. And on top of that, we have the World ID primitives, which is the secret sauce of what exists inside of the World ecosystem. And so this proof of humanity identity layer is accessible to all developers. And so right now you can actually access the orb verification level, but what you guys saw at the event with the additional passport credential will also be supported in mini apps in the coming month. And so that's a quick overview of what mini apps are. And in terms of the process of building one, it's actually quite simple. So we have a lot of videos. A lot of our devs here probably can also attest to it. You build a standard web app and we have a testing process where you can use it inside your app, get a feel for it, and you install MiniKit, a standard JS package, and just like that, it's pretty quickly you can get it up and running. Probably within a day, if you wanted to do something on chain, like minting something, you could probably get that up and running. And in terms of getting into the groove of it, we have pretty comprehensive documentation and we are actively producing content. And this past World Live event, if you saw, I gave a small little workshop where actually at the end, I built a mini app and let the audience test it. And so that can give you a frame of reference of how quickly you can actually get up and running and actually get the mini app into people's hands. But on top of that, we have template repos, we have Telegram chats, and I can say, and I think a lot of the people here can agree, we are quite responsive there in terms of helping you out and making sure you don't run into any issues while building your mini app.
All right, very good. I'm not front running any questions from the audience or anything, but I think like something that just really impresses me, and I think sometimes we forget to mention it so directly. When you think about, I'm going to build an app that runs on a blockchain, you have to think about, oh, I'm going to have to learn Solidity. I'm going to have to learn a lot of developer tooling. I'm going to have to figure out the whole gas thing, deploy smart contracts, potentially have them audited, et cetera, whatever you might normally do. With mini apps, as Andy mentioned, it's just like a streamlined process. You really have to have none of that knowledge whatsoever, and you can just concentrate on delivering your app and its functionality. So thanks for that intro, Andy. Appreciate that. And let's shift from, okay, what mini apps are into some of the basic benefits. And so we'll talk to Leighton on that. You've been working really closely with developers building mini apps. As you mentioned, you kind of head of ecosystem for mini apps. I know you've been traveling quite a bit. You've done, I don't know if it's the right word, but building events or hackathons or whatever. So Leighton, why don't you just walk us through some of the benefits of mini apps as you see them and as you've experienced?
Yeah, totally. Thank you. I've been in crypto for a long time. And so as anyone who's been in this space for a while, you might know that a lot of amazing products have been built, but oftentimes, if you look at how many people are actually using them, it's not a lot of people. And so I think that is the single biggest problem that mini apps solve is distribution for developers. So if you're a builder, not just, I should say builders, not just developers, but if you're a builder and you want to actually get what you're building into the hands of millions of people around the world, the best way to do that is with a mini app. I actually just pulled some stats right before I got on the call from like yesterday. So just yesterday, there was 4.8 million opens of mini apps and 8.2 million impressions. So 8.2 million views of mini apps and 4.8 million unique opens. So that's like just a scale that isn't really seen anywhere else when it comes to the ability to reach an audience. And so I think that is the single biggest thing, benefit of mini apps is this distribution. But then also just to say the second thing I think, which is you have this audience that's already 100% onboarded into crypto. They already have a wallet. They don't have to pay transaction fees because on WorldChain, humans don't have gas fees. So they don't have to pay transaction fees. So there's very little friction. Like a lot of the friction that traditionally exists to onboard people just doesn't exist. And so you already have these people who are fully onboarded. And also, like Andy said, in addition to that, the third piece is really you can leverage World ID, proof of human. So it's those three things that are the benefits of mini apps: the distribution, the fact that you have all these people already onboarded with a wallet, a self-custodial wallet, no need to pay gas fees, and then World ID. I think those are the three big things. And with that, it's been really fun to work on. And we'll hear from these developers and builders now in just a minute. But it's been really fun to work with these people because it's, we can build something and within a few days have hundreds of thousands of unique users. And that's really special and something that isn't happening anywhere else right now.
Okay, great. Thanks for that overview. I know you've been spending quite a bit of time with developers, so you've got incredible insights. And we'll hear today from some of the developers we have, John, Youssef, and Loomdart, about why they chose to spend their time developing mini apps. But yeah, I know you see firsthand like some of the challenges people maybe again have had in developing applications and how mini apps solve them, which is I think a little bit of a great segue. Before we get into the details on the different apps that were mentioned in the intro, what attracted you to spend your time building a mini app in the first place? And feel free, John, you can kick us off.
Yeah, cool. I think the thing that compelled me was go through the things that Leighton mentioned. So I've been building apps in crypto for quite a long time, and the whole team at PartyDAO has as well. And I definitely think that one feeling or one lesson from all that is that distribution really matters a lot. Leighton said there's a lot of cool apps out there that have been built in crypto, but when you're limited to a set of users that has to be pretty sophisticated and understand a lot of the nuances of onboarding with a crypto wallet, paying gas fees, bridging between different chains, understanding how how to get the right assets or even understand the concepts happening in different apps, that can constrain your user base down to tens of thousands of people rather than millions. And the idea of building an app in the World App Store that would just be put in front of millions of people felt really interesting as a prospect. Just like no matter what it was, I think the ability to learn from that type of scale and see what real distribution would change for us was really interesting. And then the second thing, I think, coming out of the same experience of having built in crypto for a long time, another problem with it is crypto has a lot of bots. Sybil resistance is a long-standing kind of unsolved problem where you've got kind of airdrop farmers or different types of users who will either create multiple accounts in an app and use it for all sorts of different reasons, whether that could be airdrop farming or just trying to use multiple accounts to take advantage of a system. And I've been really interested in seeing what the proof of human technology that World has built could do around an app like that. I wanted to use it in some form. And if you wanted to use that technology and ensure that most of your users had access to proving that they were a human, doing that through a mini app makes a lot more sense than just building a kind of a standalone web app. So was really interested in playing with both of those things, which is I think the initial motivation, and then can talk more about my specific app later. But yeah, that's what motivated me.
Okay, great. And how about you, Youssef? Just what was your attraction to mini apps in the first place?
Definitely a lot of the things that John just said I shared those feelings, but I would say, I think it was more of you were able to dream about all of the different ways you could use the technology to all the things that you have that I had in my head about like, oh, this is all possible now because we are able to verify that a person is a real human and as like a first-class citizen instead of treating it as more of like, oh, let's try to find ways to let's circumvent that by making them pay a certain fee upfront or whatever. But having that as like the core primitive just made me be able to really dream about what could be possible. And so just like having that door be open allowed me to just be like, let my creativity a bit unleash. And yeah, so it was just seeing the announcements, seeing the video, being like, oh, wow, like all of these things are not possible. All of these, especially because I see this as becoming a bigger and bigger problem over time. We're already seeing it right now across like different social media platforms where there's a lot of like bots everywhere and stuff. It's hard to tell what is human from what is not. And the line is getting more and more blurry every single day, which just made me want to take action, basically.
Okay, very good. Makes total sense. And Loomdart, how about you? Just kind of what attracted you to build a mini app in the first place?
Awesome. So we always wanted to have more enhanced user experiences and like kind of fun games our holders could play. But one of the issues of kind of like a very on-chain project is you start to realize as we have thousands of holders, and thousands of holders on-chain usually means there's people getting drained occasionally. And being the founder, you're like giga in the trenches. You're effectively experiencing the pain of one of your holders getting drained each time they get drained. And so even though we wanted to do like a bunch of fun on-chain user auth stuff, we just always had this problem of we never wanted to do our own centralized core accounting system because then it removes a bit of the crypto fun from everything. And it's like, yeah, guys, you can do stuff in ecosystem, but you'll need to tap into our API, which never really appealed to me. And so we were stuck in a place where it's like, we want to do fun stuff. We want it to be convenient, but we just can't really justify to ourselves of getting our holder base used to just perpetually connecting their assets to different websites, different URLs, different things. And so we put a hold on like doing those types of things till about 6 months ago. We discovered like, hey, you can have mini apps on various platforms and it's authenticated by just directly by the user account. So you can effectively have an experience where the user just opens the application and it knows who they are. And so that really alleviated a lot of the fears we had around getting users comfortable connecting to a bunch of different websites and stuff. And it's just a much more seamless experience. And then just effectively been like, hey, now that we can do this, it's time to spend these like years of ideas and make them all realities.
All right, very good. Appreciate that. Okay, now we're gonna transition into talking about the apps in more detail. And I've used all of them, and I'd encourage everyone that's a World App user to check them all out. Before we start that, though, I want to toss in a quick Q&A reminder. If you have any questions as we go through, don't hesitate to put those in the Twitter thread, and we'll get to those at the end of the space. Okay, John, back to you. You mentioned your apps in the introduction, but just reintroduce them by name and tell us a bit about what they do, what you're targeting.
Sure, yeah, thanks. Our first app is called Oro. Oro means gold in Spanish. So 3-letter word. And Oro is a really simple app. It's a mini app that uses the proof of human technology on chain to let every unique human claim one token every day. So it's a token that every human can claim once per day forever. And that idea sounds really simple, but I think taking a step back and looking at crypto since all the way back to the Bitcoin white paper over 10 years ago, one of the big things that crypto has introduced to the world is tokens. And tokens are really interesting for all types of different reasons. They can give value to things that were really hard to measure or form markets around beforehand. They introduced another layer of markets to the internet. There's all these cool things, but one challenging part of tokens is creating tokens that are fairly distributed and creating tokens where everyone out there can benefit from the value of a token in the same way. And so I think that applying the proof of human technology that World has created to something really basic like a token is already just one of the most powerful experiments you could do right away with mini apps and with proof of human. And so we've just been really interested in seeing what does it look like for there to be a token that every human gets access to on the same footing from the start. And that's the app. That has kicked off and it's really interesting. I think there are a lot of users of the World app that are claiming their one Oro token every day or a few times a week and are really engaged with it. And I think the immediate thing that came up once that project was out there was just like, okay, I have this token. How can I use it? How can I send it to someone or receive it from someone? How can I swap it on a DEX if there's access to stuff like that? And there was no mini app where you could do this. And actually, a lot of that stuff just didn't exist in the World app yet. So there's also a second app that we built called Uno. And it's basically looks like a standard crypto wallet that has support for sending, swapping, receiving ERC20 tokens. And that's also, I think, just a really convenient app for users of the World app to do stuff with tokens. That app does not use the proof of humanity. Any World app user can use it, even if they haven't been verified. But it's just a really nice utility that lets you do all things tokens within a mini app.
All right, very good. Appreciate that. I'm going to encourage everyone as we go through to check these out, but it's Oro and Uno are really cool mini apps. Okay, so let's move on to Youssef. Youssef, you want to give us an intro to Meritt and tell us about some of the core features and progress that you're seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. When I saw the announcement and got excited about building, the first thing that I thought back, asked myself was whether, assuming that the AI thesis is true, which is that lines, like I mentioned earlier, lines are going to get more and more blurry about what content online is written by an AI versus written by a human, it came naturally to me, or it made a lot of sense to want to build a social app where every single person that was interacting on it had to be a verified human. And so that seemed like the most obvious thing to do. And I just went ahead and shipped it essentially. And it was with a very basic app, just almost like a conscious thread of World users just posting stuff and kind of writing about whatever they wanted to write. And the app is still relatively simple, but since then we've added a bunch of things like communities. We've added features like the ability to search for specific posts and specific profiles and creating an algorithm for ranking different posts. And things have moved along quite quickly. And I was very impressed by the growth. It's only been a month and we've already crossed like 40,000 users, which is amazing. And so the whole premise is just the world is going to be more and more AI focused, and where can humans find each other? Where can they make sure that every single person that they communicate with is going to be a real human? And I'm hoping that's going to be on Meritt. And so that's kind of the main reason why I built it. Moving forward, like right now, I'm working really hard to reach feature parity with traditional social media apps like Facebook or Twitter or whatever, where I'm hoping to add their DMs and chats very soon. I'm about to launch images, hopefully tonight or tomorrow. And because right now it's only text-based, once I hit that feature parity, that's when I'm actually going to spend a lot more time trying to leverage the technology that World provides and also the integration with the crypto wallet directly a lot more. I have a lot of plans for that, but generally speaking, it would just be thinking of the social and specifically crypto social at the next level, especially if you know that every single person on the platform is a real human being. You don't have to worry about things like that John mentioned, like Sybil attacks, or just generally speaking, a lot of people creating different wallets and trying to be bots and stuff like that, or just creating a lot of bots. What kind of new interactions, specifically like social interactions, can be created or can be invented in this new paradigm? And so that's the phase 2, if you will, of Meritt, especially once all the kind of initial features are completed. I'm going to be doing a lot of work on exploring what kind of new things that haven't been invented yet can be done in this social network where every person has a crypto wallet and is also a verified human being. And so that's hopefully going to be exciting, and a lot of creativity can be unleashed from that.
All right, very good. Excellent points. Loomdart, you want to tell us about Wassie Whomp?
Hello, yes, I would love to. So there's a bit of a backstory to the Whomp app and like how it came about. So we effectively, adding to my points I made it just a bit earlier, like we've always wanted to do a incremental game somewhere, but we had this issue of app stores are generally not the fondest of crypto, and we 100% did not want our holders just download an exe file. Generally, it's not good practice to have people download exes. So we never really found a place for it. Then mini apps bloomed and we were like, hey, this is literally perfect. And the Whomp app, if I had to describe it in as simple terms as possible, it's effectively a very fun incremental game with a very big focus on education. And I'd call it like light crypto onboarding. So currently it is in beta with the main release next month. And I say this because right now it's in a form where it's very focused on tapping, but we don't want it to remain like a kind of tap game just because I feel bad for people's fingers. Like it's going to transition pretty heavily into something that's much more. So we're calling them Whompers, and they're effectively like a party of characters that can tap for you. And then there's a few different ways of acquiring these Whompers. And the core purpose of the application is to have the best party of Whompers possible. So when we were like, hey, okay, so we want to give people Whompers and we want to try and help gamify the crypto onboarding experience. So it's a big part of the mini app, and it's also in and of itself like a separate project. But there's I'm not really sure what to call it, but it's effectively a thing we created called Ajuka Wassie, which is where we try and boil down complicated, less complicated, just everything across the broad crypto spectrum in terms of like educational things into very easy to understand, simplified, short form, and most importantly, cute crypto educational stories. And as the user goes through these stories, they will end with a poll. It asks about, hey, here's some questions. What's the correct answer? And once they've answered that correctly, they acquire Whompers, which can then acquire more Whomps for them. And then the second big part of this onboarding journey is we'll be collaborating with a lot of different projects across the crypto spectrum for kind of what I'm calling like questing 2.0. I think last year we saw questing have a just phenomenal success in the space. Projects have started to shy away from it because it's like everything where it's like, hey, these guys did this and they got a lot of wealth from it. So we should all do this, and then we should develop applications that can do this for us 50,000 times. And then it became a bit riskier for projects to do, because I really, really like Quest. And, it's a really nice, fun way of effectively showing people how to use your project, what your project can do. But these botters and the bot farms turned that really sour. And so our approach to questing is, hey guys, look, we have the ability to assign your wallets and that you go through these different protocols, these different projects, and do things there that as you go into your crypto journey, you're going to need to know how to do. But instead of this kind of mystery that questing always has, which is, hey guys, I did these 50 quests, I did a lot of work for them, where's my kind of airdrop? And then they count the projects perpetually with, hey guys, when airdrop, when this, when that. We're focusing it much more on the questing being a way for the user to just acquire better and better Whompers. So there's a very straightforward reward for completing these missions and completing these quests, which is like, hey, you get the best Whomper party possible. It probably won't be ready by the January release, but we then intend to add a bunch of social PvP elements and have like groups of Whomper parties battling each other. It's going to be pretty fun. Another so we've been around the mini app ecosystem for, I'd say, about 6 months now. And one kind of thing we realized that goes back to the questing piece a bit as well, most things in the space, the second something has some form of PG or some form of wealth generation effect, the botters get involved. And these guys are incredibly good. Like, it's a cat and mouse game where the cat is obviously incredibly incentivized because it's like, hey, if I pull this off, I'm making like hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions of dollars. And it can really honestly, like, it was attractive to projects at first because we can say we have hundreds of thousands, millions of users, like tens of millions, hundreds of millions of users easily. But it's a double-edged sword that has a very bad hangover where it can honestly kill a project where there's so much excitement and so much hype because of all these amazing numbers. And then everyone realizes that, hey, it's literally just bots. And then it kills something because having insane growth and then that growth disappear overnight can be very destructive. And you could have a very good project with a very good concept that can still kill it. And so we've been focusing a lot more on World recently because proof of humanity, which, like, being able to prove that and addresses someone in crypto, I think is like something I've been interested in for a few years now. And it's one of those things where it's important in crypto, but honestly applies just for the internet in general. And in the Whomp app instance, it's very useful for us because it's like, hey, we can know if this is a human or if this is a 1 in 100,000 bot farm. So it just made perfect sense.
Everything you just said totally resonates with me, like everything everyone has said. And I think it's always worth sometimes zooming out a little bit and looking at the fundamental. All these apps are really cool and really fun. And you have to take Loomdart's word for it, but you ought to go play Wassie Whomp. And the comment about saving your fingers is, I totally get it. So mini apps are built on World app. And World App is a client for the World Protocol. And at the heart, the World Protocol it does a lot of things, but fundamentally, it is solving a problem in computer science called Sybil resistance. And it is not just, as Loomdart said, it is not just a Web3 problem. It is a fundamental problem in computer science. And by solving that fundamentally at the protocol level, then you allow apps that are built on it, like World App, and by proxy, many apps built on those apps to inherit or experience or benefit from that same Sybil resistance that originates in the protocol. So it's just an excellent point. It is definitely worth revisiting, and it's just an incredible value. Yeah. So everyone, thanks for that. I'm going to get into some questions now, and just to remind everyone, we've got a few we're going to answer, but if you have more, just stick them in the Twitter Space thread and we'll get to them. So the first question, let me look here really quickly. First question, I'm going to direct over to Andy. And the question is, it says, as a dev, I'm always a little bit worried to build on top of an app store controlled by a third party. And so Andy, what will be the policy of TFH about adding and removing apps from its store?
Yes, thanks for that. In terms of our overall policy for the store, the general idea is that obviously we want as much diversity as possible and everyone to dream big, as Youssef shared. But at the same time, we also want to make sure that users are safe. One of the big benefits of our distribution is also that a lot of our users have never used crypto before. And we spend a lot of time thinking about that. World ID is inherently a privacy-first technology as well. And so that is also another kind of access that we evaluate. But overall, we still try to be as open as possible. And so I'd recommend comprehensively looking at the App Store policy that we have shared on our docs. But on top of that, at the end of the day, we also do want to foster an open ecosystem. The App Store is simply just a listing mechanism in terms of another vehicle for discoverability. But technically, the App Store is completely open. So you're able to share your apps to other users via the link, and they'll be able to access it without actually having to go through the App Store. And so the App Store is more so you can think of something as a curation layer.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, so next question is really about traction that the projects are seeing. And Youssef, I'm gonna start with you on this one. You actually mentioned some stats on traction that you're seeing with Meritt, but do you want to just recap those? Like, what kind of traction are you seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember texting Leighton on the first day, or not even the first day, the first few minutes or first few hours after launching and being like, whoa, we literally pressed on the submit button and we already have our first couple hundred users. And so that was super exciting. But yeah, like I said, in terms of like the numbers for Meritt, like we're right around 40,000 users and over 10 million impressions and over, I believe it was like 120,000 sessions. It's been parabolic ever since. And the app has been out only for a month. I know there are other apps that are doing even better. And I know John's app has been killing it as well. But yeah, the numbers are very, for like relative to the amount of work that I've put into marketing, which barely any. This is all organic, coming from World distribution, coming from people just opening the App Store and seeing the apps that are available and then basically downloading Meritt and all the other apps. And yeah, to get that type of distribution for essentially for free, at least obviously World is putting a lot of effort and work into promoting World, but as a developer, you're not going to have to hire a marketing agency or spend a lot of time like focusing on that. You can just focus on shipping on providing the best user experience. And you're almost like letting World, at least initially, handle distribution for you. And so obviously, as time goes by, that advantage will go away as more and more apps are being built and it starts to have more and more noise on the App Store. But at least for now, if you launch your app, definitely the type of distribution you can get is very impressive.
All right, very good. And John, you want to give us a recap of some of the traction you're seeing with Oro and Uno?
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, Oro had the unique advantage of being, I think, the first or one of the first mini apps that was available. It was ready on launch day. It's very close to hitting 1 million installs on the World Mini App Store. There's been 954,121 installs of the app so far. And yeah, there's a few 100,000 people every day claiming Oro. And all of those are unique humans, not bots, not just different addresses, but unique humans interacting with the apps. Definitely operating at a scale that feels extremely rare in crypto. And that's been really exciting.
All right, very good. And Loomdart, any stats you might have on traction that you're seeing?
Awesome. So we're a bit different in that we actually, and I just want to say, like, the really cool part of mini apps is how, I don't want to say simple because that's definitely not true, but how modular they are. So we actually ported our mini app over from another ecosystem in just a few days. It was I don't want to say easy to do, but it was relatively simple. But unfortunately, there were still a few bugs here and there. So while the app is live, it's in like a kind of beta state with a few features to still implement. And so we've done our best to not market it the most and like stay pretty down low about it. Also, my prior point of like, I don't really want everyone to like exhaust themselves, breaking their fingers before the fun truly begins. But even in that instance, we've gotten, I think, 18,000 unique users using it. And that's effectively with us not wanting people to use it. So even if you don't want it, it happens, which is a very good sign.
Right. Okay. Very good. So that's all our questions. I believe I've got them all. Yes, looks like I have. But yeah, just in closing, first of all, thanks so much to everyone that joined us. John, Youssef, Loomdart, Leighton, and Andy. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Thanks everyone that joined the space live. And then we always record those and put those out there too. So thanks to everyone that might take a listen at a future date. And just as a reminder, I mean, mini apps are new. We announced them not even 2 months ago at our October event, A New World. And it's just a great way to access, as everyone has said multiple times today on the space, like a verified unique human user base for your apps. And you don't have to worry about bots or anything along those lines, which traditionally plagued any app in Web3. But to point out, you don't have to have like a crypto component to it necessarily. You could just be leveraging World ID itself, which is the proof of human primitive, to build an app that does things like polling, for example, like a sentiment poll, a preference poll, or whatever else you might want to do. And again, that's just an example of mini apps riding on top of World app, which rides on top of the World protocol, which is all about Sybil resistance. So yeah, so again, thanks everyone for your time and joining us today. And yeah, hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you all. Talk to you later.
Yep. Thank you all.
It was a pleasure, guys.
Ciao.